Well, it's great to be back on campus. This is the first time back since I graduated, and sometimes you forget just how beautiful it is here at Goods Hall. But I think I wanted to address the elephant in the room first. I am extremely underdressed for this event. And I also put the fact that I graduated last year as proof that it wasn't just ignorance. This was something that I did on purpose. Through my career journey, I have never worn a tie to work once. I went here, I never wore a tie to work once. In fact, I'm actually dressed up today. Normally, I would be wearing construction boots with steel toes, and whether it's a bright red shirt for a company I worked for or painter overalls, that's what I was wearing. So my talk today is about being authentic to yourself, being authentic throughout your career journey, and I didn't think that I could come up here in a suit and tie and actually be authentic to you. So what I'm going to talk about today is the unconventional paths that you can take to actually have a career that is meaningful to you and something that you love to do. For me, it started with College Pro Painters. So I started my business at 18, and that happened in Frosh Week, where I came in, had a great time, but as a classic commerce student, I was already thinking about my first internship. And I knew that there wasn't going to be a great job that I could get because I was in first year. So I went up to this booth that was sponsored by College Pro Painters. And that's where I fell in love with entrepreneurship. I knew that I would have this ability to actually go out and make an impact and have change, be responsible for something, have other people depend on me, which was something that was really important. Now, while it's still the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, there were some tremendous lessons that I learned from this opportunity. There were some things that were a little bit sketchy. You really shouldn't be putting a ladder on a roof. I don't think that, I have to come up here to tell you that, but sometimes you got to do what you do to get the job done. And not only that, but I was learning how to manage people. I had university students who were older than me, who needed money to pay for tuition, to pay for life, and I was an 18-year-old who had to go out and book business so that they could go out and actually have hours to work. And this actually allowed me to have this sense of ownership and responsibility that I've transferred to every other job that I've been into, where now everyone who I works for gives me the same comment that you really took ownership over this project. And that originated here. The biggest lesson, though, that I learned from College Pro was actually don't be afraid to bet on yourself. I did not know how to paint, hadn't picked up a paintbrush in my life. I had never managed anyone, I had never sold anything, I had never done accounting for a business. There was nothing that I had ever done, but I was able to run a $100,000 business in 4 months. Everyone here went to the Smith School of Business or goes to Queen's. You guys are all talented. Take on opportunities that are bigger than what your capabilities are right now, because you will grow into them. And don't be afraid to bet on yourself and your capabilities, because you're already showing that you're investing in personal development by coming here today. Saying that, there were some things that made me, not want to come back for a second year, i.e. ladders on roofs, painters potentially falling off of ladders, but we don't need to get into that. And so I wanted to actually sharpen one skill individually. And for me, that skill was selling. So what I ended up doing is I took a job selling pest control throughout Texas, California, through Albuquerque, Denver as well. Very non-traditional. So far throughout my commerce journey, I have been in painting and pest control. Not exactly your typical path. Now, your door-to-door sales in Texas, it gets a little hot. That's without humidity. Not only does it get hot, but you get people who don't want you to be there. I'll give you a few seconds just to read that. I was not selling Girl Guide cookies, so they wanted nothing to do with me. Some people were polite about it. Some people weren't. That one was very obvious that they didn't want me there. And if you zoom in on that little photo on the top right, you see the gold bar? It actually says that they have a big dog on property and I should go away. So they meant it. But through all of these no's that I got, through all of these rejections that I had going door to door, it developed the ability for me to actually be comfortable with rejection. Even though that was a great skill to learn in developing my skills as a sales rep, the biggest takeaway that I had from this opportunity was that don't be afraid to take a step backwards to take 3 steps forward. I ran my business the previous summer doing $100,000, doing the sales, operating it, running a team. This year, when I did my pest control, I only did $50,000 in sales. I wasn't running a business. I was only doing one thing. But I knew that I had to sharpen one skill. A lot of the times, if you're taking a step backwards, it's because you're actually having almost like a catapult motion, where you're taking that step back to fling yourself forward. So if you know what your long-term trajectory is, don't be afraid to take that step backwards or take that lateral step to go forward in your career. And that's not working. Great. Well, after that, the next thing that I ended up doing actually is I got connected with this company named Hilti through the Great Canadian Sales Competition. And this is in third year when you're supposed to have your prime internship. You're supposed to go for that big name. You're supposed to go to a CPG, consulting, all of those things. Anyone here, do you guys know what Hilti does? Who they are? Ever heard of them? 3 people? That's actually more than I was, 5, 6? More than I was expecting. Hilti sells premium construction tools. So I got connected to them, and I went to this company with no interest in construction, but I saw an opportunity to actually work on a software as a service platform that they were developing. Now, throughout this ability to going back to lesson 1 and taking ownership and not being afraid to bet on yourself, I actually, within a month, had 4 interns hired to work for me as an intern because I took ownership as a project. At the end of the internship, they actually promoted someone from their customer service department into the role that I created for myself, which was project implementation. And I ran the largest project implementation for the biggest on-track software deal in Canada. All as an intern, because I was able to actually go out and take responsibility. Now, because there's no slides, that wasn't my biggest takeaway, though, from this opportunity. My biggest takeaway and what I really want to talk to you today about is that you should always chase a job that you love every single day. I got an offer from Hilti to go back, where they wanted me. They actually tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, we want to accelerate you to go on the path to be an executive within this company. They laid it out to me, and I looked at that, and I evaluated it, and it wasn't for me because I didn't love what I did every single day. And what that did to me was that it made me realize that money isn't the only thing, that in your 20s, which I am now, you should be focusing on learning and development and really making sure that you can explode later on your career, but chase something that you want to do. And for me, what that ended up being was working at Shopify. So I had this love for sales, and I had a love for entrepreneurship. And now I'm at a company where I get to sell a software that enables entrepreneurs every single day, where we give them the power to fight back against Amazon and Walmart and give them data and give them something that they can actually use. And work with some pretty cool brands as you can see. Apparently I focused on CPG with BioSteel, This Bar Saves Lives, and Vienna Snack Foods. Not intentional, that just sort of happened to be. But having this opportunity with Shopify really allowed me to live that dream of having a job that I loved every single day. But it also gave me one more thing to learn right now, and that was you have to play the long game. In school, we're so conditioned to have 4 months here, 3 months here, you have an internship, your classes are over. In real life, in your career, it is not 4 months. You are playing a game that is 20, 25 years long. You need to understand where you want to go in terms of a long-term trajectory and work your way back. Understand what your goal is, and a lot of the times, once you understand that goal, it's not going to be this linear career path that a lot of us think that we're going to take. So understand that, and if there's 4 things that I would say to take away today, don't be afraid to bet on yourself. It's okay to take a step back, to take 3 steps forward. Chase something that you love to do every single day, and play the long game. If you do those 4 things, not only will you be successful, you'll be happy as well. Thank you.